Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to The Medium by Design. It's been a while, but my friend Larry sent me a message. Are you ever going to do another one of those walking videos? And I don't know why, but when Larry says that, I think I should do another walking video. Some people can be so good at inspiring us or stimulating us to take some action. So now that we're well over a year into this huge transition, not only for the US, but for the world, it's a good time to review what changed. But not just what changed in the world, not the outside, what changed in us. So here's a few things that may have changed for you. Number one thing is we may be looking at death a little differently. And then because we're looking at death a little differently, meaning accepting it, realizing that certain souls have a plan to leave, which was a big umbrella to this whole experience this last year. It was kind of an umbrella for a lot of souls to just leave the planet, no matter how hard that might be for us to deal with emotionally. And then once we change our perception of death, then we usually change our perception of life. They go hand in hand. So many of us are changing our values and what's more important, and are going in that direction. And these are the things that we need to get out of a big experience like this. We need to get really those subtle changes that become monumental changes. So those are two important changes. Another change for me, and I had spoken about this in numerous videos, was my time. Who was I going to spend my time with, and what was I going to spend my time on? Prior to this big change, I was doing groups. Not a lot, but they were building. It was building. It was really fun, and the spiritual experiences and the energy in the room, really, really phenomenal. So I felt like the rug was pulled out. And but I didn't want to waste emotion on being discouraged or depressed or disappointed, even though I was a little bit of all those things. I wanted to get into, well, what am I supposed to do now? So a lot of it was rest. A lot of the last year was quiet. There was a lot of quiet time. And just enough work to get by. And also opening up to a project which I still haven't gotten videos out yet because I'm taking my time with that. There's some other things I'm going to add to the YouTube channel that I was inspired to do, as well as projects. So I'm finding another subtle change, or it might be a big change for some of us, creativity. The one thing that we're born to do here is be creative in whatever way that is. And that can change over a lifetime. So for me, some of the creativity was new, like getting into more renovation, design stuff, which is very creative for me. Another creative line, and you can do this for yourself. Review your creative avenues. And they can be anything. You look at YouTube, you can see all these different people doing all different things. That's their creativity. Even the car detailers I watch, that's their creativity. That's what's expanding in their lives. They become great at doing that. So, creativity had a very narrow meaning for a lot of people. The first thing people think of is, sculptor, painter, writer. Yeah, that's all creative. But so is gardening, working on cars. Everything you do can be seen as a creative outlet. And the thing is, another subtle change. When I said where I'm going to put my time, really, when you evaluate all these things, you're evaluating how much you love yourself and how much love you're willing to receive in your life. And you know, when it comes to the love thing, everybody has their distorted idea of what that means, and a lot of people never include themselves in the love game. You know, it's always about what I'm getting, what I'm taking, that's a whole nother conversation. There is no reason to take. And before I started this video, I was thinking of some of the topics I wanted to talk about. And another one was and this you could take into your friendships. I can take it to people that I work with and friendships. But I was joking to myself that the gift that I have of the Spirit is probably only manifested, coming through, that creative gift is only coming through 1% of the people at this level. And I don't say that to brag. It has nothing to do with bragging. It has to do with understanding that a lot of people don't totally get it. And that's not easy. When you're in a small subgroup, you still have to keep going and just keep being yourself, which is the biggest thing about life, is trying to be yourself. Recently, talk about being yourself and how outrageous that can be. Recently on Netflix, the mini-series for Halston, about Halston. Halston was a designer in the 70s and 80s, and he was a phenomenal designer. He was. His gift was similar to me with houses. His gift was vision in fabric and clothing. That was something, you know, he could just take a piece of fabric and wrap a woman in it and create a dress. You know, just pin it together and say, oh, we got a new design. There we go. And he was really in a 1% of the design industry. He really, really had an amazing talent. And even though that talent was amazing and really strong in him, he could have been considered being in the 1%, and it was very difficult because sometimes with some of us, the creativity, it starts to snowball and it gets so big. And then, of course, the outer world using that gift gets so big. It's hard for the nervous system to assimilate all that energy and to let that flow through our bodies. And so the turn of events with his life, which was kind of sad a little bit, and I saw this because I was part of that community. You know, I witnessed a lot, and so are my friends that are still alive today. They saw this too. We all saw this. We didn't quite understand at the time, but Studio 54 opened. This is the turning event for Halston. And now in the 70s, you know, cocaine was kind of like just a luxury drug. And I realized when I was watching that mini-series that Halston was a little similar to Robin Williams. Halston's mind was incredibly fast, and that's how the creativity flowed. Just like Robin Williams. You watch interviews with Robin Williams today, he gets on a roll. He can't help himself. It just has to come out. Not everybody has that level of creativity. That's why I joke and say it's a 1%. You know, these unique talents. So, Robin Williams and Halston, I believe, were using cocaine to relax and slow down because they were too fast, and cocaine was actually slowing the nervous system a little so they could, you know, gather their thoughts and take a breath. So that was kind of his downfall because Studio 54 opened, and And he became super big during the late 70s. Really big person. And then you can look at the series and see what happened in business and what he did. That was another turn of events that he chose to do, but then later kind of regretted it a little bit because he sold his name. So he couldn't really use his name, which was kind of bizarre when you think about it. But it was very interesting. So, all of this can tie into what we're going through now, this last year, in this change. We start to ask ourselves, where did we use our creativity? Where did we not? What have we not been moving forward with? These are all questions a human being should ask themselves. It's important because when you get to the later life, you look back and you wonder, did I do everything that I came here to do? Morning. So these are important questions that you want to ask yourself as you're going through your life and coming out of this COVID experience. For some of us, we really weren't that affected. We didn't allow things to completely fall apart, and we did the best we could to keep things going. My contractor, I've said this in another video, my contractor never slowed down, and people doing renovations never slowed down. I slowed down. I wasn't busy, but I'm never busy. I've been in a long period, and that's going to be another video of how I talk about the phases of our lives. I'm going to do another video on that. So, I guess I would just leave you with, this is a good time to review as we get into the summer. And this summer should be a lot different from last summer. What did I gain from this whole last year experience? How do I feel? And did I clear out those negative emotions about what was going on and how much I was going to let this affect me and let myself evolve into a better expression of myself? And you can think that's weird, but if you don't understand what your own expression is, you're really a lost soul. You have to understand a little bit about what you're here to express. This is part of our lives, and the major part of our lives, knowing what we want to bring to this planet. And through this whole transition, I would hope that many people are now bringing something better. It doesn't have to be something tangible, something physically tangible. It could be just more peace in your life, more calm. You don't get rage-filled anymore. You're not an aggressive driver. That's another big thing. We could do the whole talk about driving in this country and around the world. You can look up accidents on YouTube and see how people are driving around the world. And they just, they just don't pay attention. So maybe another part of this whole transition is being more alert in your daily life and being more aware in the moment. That's another big spiritual teaching. Living in the moment. And that's another huge thing that came about with this transition. Getting inspired in the moment and not planning. I let go of all my plans, which is so bizarre. I just let go of everything. And I get up every day and I just say, okay, what is today? That's my new way of living. Now, it doesn't mean I never have ideas and thoughts about what I want to do. That's still there. But it's changed. There's no... Whatever doesn't get done today gets done tomorrow. There's no aggression. I lost my intense will. It's softened so much the last year or so, even before last year. It was softening. I thought, where did that guy go? That feisty guy. Now, he comes out every once in a while, and you can see him in videos. But it's just really interesting how you go through these changes. As I'm not as angry as I used to be, which is kind of cool. I don't feel all that internal angst, which you could see with Halston, getting back to that. If you watch that, you can see the way he snapped at people, his anger, his temper. That's an inner conflict going on there. And hopefully some of you cleared some of those auto reactions. And remember, those automatic reactions, they never have to do with the now. They always have to do with the past. And if you can't resolve your past... Oh, let me give you this. See, this is what happens. I always get more ideas. This is kind of interesting. My father was getting on the highway in New Jersey, and somebody passed him at a very high speed as he was approaching the highway, and a rock came and chipped the window on his new car. This is not that long ago. This is within months. Well, his reaction was to chase the guy and possibly run the man off the road. Take a breath on this, because this is so ludicrous. And this is my father. He's 80 years old. Where do you think you're going, chasing somebody to have a battle in a car? Oh my God. Anyway, my friend and I were talking about this moment, about my father, and we both agreed that this came from when he was 17. This is how, if you don't understand the workings of your nervous system and the workings of time on the planet and how you retain moments that are irrelevant in the now. These are irrelevant moments that are guiding your actions. And if you don't understand that, you really should dive into it, because if you're still having automatic reactions and you don't know where they're coming from, you're in trouble. You can create some real havoc by not knowing your own reactions and thinking that this is normal. It's not normal. It's causing more drama and problems. So, if we really truly want peace, we have to clear these things. You can't live like this and think you're going to have a great life. So, I mentioned it to my father. And he knew exactly the time when he was 17 that reaction was planted. Now, I said to him, okay, now you know where that comes from. And it was a traffic situation. It was a car situation. So now you know where that comes from. I said to him, do you think you can just let that go and not use that as a energy to react to? And I just left it at that. I didn't get too far into it. If you want something really current from the news, the woman that was on the plane, Southwest plane, and then we find out after the fact that she was probably drunk, but, that's her problem. She got too drunk, and the flight attendant asked her to leave her seatbelt on until the plane stops. This is a rule that we've had since we've been flying on planes. It's never changed. It's the same rule, same thing, different day, same thing. And what does she do? Possibly the flight attendant touched her on the shoulder, and she screamed on the plane, "Don't touch me," got up and belted the flight attendant right in the mouth and knocked some of her teeth out. Now, I laugh now at this stuff because I think, what the hell, it's so, you don't even want to read these headlines because you think, what is this person thinking? Well, she's drunk, so obviously she's not thinking clearly. And whatever that reaction was, who knows? Maybe the woman was raped and she, you can't touch her. And when she's drunk, that gets triggered, whatever the reason. But the point to get is, if you're on automatic reaction and those reactions are that intense, you're going to pay. There's a payment for these reactions. You could get killed. You could kill somebody. You could hurt somebody, like the woman hurt the flight attendant. Did the flight attendant deserve that? This is what consciousness is about. Paying attention to who you are, what you're bringing, what you're doing, what you're expressing. All these things are very important. So, if you never want to look at yourself, then you're not really on any ascension path, and you're not really into evolution. That's fine, but realize in the long run, you kind of lose, and that's fine too. Ultimately, nothing really matters here because we're all going to die, and then we're going to see the truth. And that brings me to another cute story that also triggered my mother. My uncle that lives in Arizona with his second wife, who I met once or twice while she was alive, she had cancer the last, I guess, couple of years or so. I don't know exactly the timeline, but it's a couple of years. So during this transition, we lost 2 family members. I've mentioned this on other videos, so I won't get too much into that. But I did write from one of them, and on my mother's side of the family, and I shared that. Now, some of the family gets me, some they don't do what I do, but they do understand that the soul doesn't die, and that you can communicate with the soul. And my eldest aunt called her brother in Arizona after my other aunt died and said, "Did you receive the message from Salvatore from Debbie?" And he must have had her on speakerphone, and his wife, yelled in her snappy tone that was the devil's voice. And she always had very strong opinions and very strong ideas. Not the truth, but in her mind, this is what she thought was real or not real. And that's fine. So anyway, my aunt calls my mother, and my mother gets all offended, right? My mother still has a lot of automatic reactions too. So my response, and you may think this sounds very cold, but I'm going to say it the way I said it. I simply said, "You're wasting your emotions on ignorance. And that soul does not know, does not understand, and she will die." This was last year before she died. "She will die, and she will know the truth." And that's what I know. So there's no reason for me to be angry, but I will tell you this. When you come up against an energy with a person that is so far out of alignment with yourself, you don't owe them anything. Just remember that. That's another subtle change with this whole transition. And I don't know how many of you, and you can put this in comments if you want, noticing which relationships ended because you're not on the same page. And you can see that in the political arena, because that's the most volatile one that people are talking about, or were talking about. Maybe not as much now, maybe so. I don't know. I don't follow it. But, these are the things that we should have gotten clarity on. And it's not that I have to be negative and I have to be right, or any of us need to be right. We're being right for ourselves. This fits my life and that doesn't. So someone who's thinking that I'm part of the devil, I don't owe that person anything. I don't owe an explanation. And you have to be clear on this, because remember, everything is your self-expression, right? Going back to creativity. If it's all your self-expression... Wait. There you go. Isn't this something? And we're crossing. And we're crossing. Hold on. And we're crossing. And we're crossing. And we're crossing. I didn't think I'd still be talking this far, all the way back home. So anyway, as you know what you have to bring to the world, if it's unaccepted, and the gays know this, because we're still going through that. Well, not me so much, but some of them are. This rejection bullshit. And actually, here's another story that came up last week. Another story of what I felt what I felt was ignorance. So there's so many stories going on and people playing out so much opinion and drama and whatever. So another one is, in the first 10 minutes of this Halston series, there is a same-sex scene. And no matter what you believe, sorry for the traffic, sorry for the noise, no matter what you believe, this expression of humanity has been around forever, okay? So you can have your judgments about that, but you're not going to change it, right? So someone that I'm friends with on Facebook, who I barely remember, I think I remember how I know this person, writes a comment because she wanted to watch the series and she got offended and turned off with the sex scene. Okay, that's okay, right? I guess that's okay. But she had to make a public opinion on it. And then, of course, her friends that are in the same soul group, they're in total agreement. So my response to that would be, gay people have been, and she said something about having it jammed down her throat, this reality that she doesn't believe in or doesn't like or doesn't, whatever her opinion is. So this is just to show that our opinions are really bullshit, but we all have one. We have many. So anyway, she makes this comment, which has obviously got some kind of judgment or something in it. So, and all her cronies are commenting, oh yeah, I didn't like that, and I wouldn't watch that, I wouldn't do that. Okay, so you made a decision, it's not for you. But this is the thing, if you can't understand what it's like on the other side of your opinion, and you don't care, then again, you can't evolve either. You can't. Because everybody's here expressing themselves, that's what we're here for. And this is a fact, this is not an opinion. This is the truth. You were here to have a physical life and experience that. And if you have, like me, like some people, you have a spiritual and physical life, that it makes it even more exciting. So my response would have been, but of course I wasn't going to type this out. It's not worth it. But now that I'm on here, I figured I could throw it out. Gay people, gay children, they're having to watch love stories and sex scenes between a man and a woman since they're children and never felt that was them. And it's been jammed down their throat for decades. Did we complain? This is the way the world is. People express themselves. And now that it's being shown in soap operas and movies, and it's being brought out into the public as this is what some of the population, this is how they live, some people are getting offended. And I'm not a cheerleader for groups. I'm not a cheerleader for gays or blacks. I don't hold the flag, the flag, there is that flag, the gay flag. I don't do any of that. But I am for humankind, and I am for expression, especially if it doesn't hurt anybody else. I'm very much for that. So, just, if you don't like something or you don't want to see it, just remember, we're all in the same boat. There are things none of us want to see, but it's there because those people are expressing that way of life. And there's nothing you're going to do about it. And if you still have reactions, guess whose problems your reactions are? Yours. It's nobody else. You're the one that has to live with that frustration. And I know this firsthand. This is why I can talk about these things, because I've lived through these emotions and I've had them for years. And my friends know, from 10, 20 years ago, I wasn't always a happy person. I was a jokester and I was funny. But on the inside, I wasn't always happy. I had a lot of moments of friction and just just not feeling good, about me, about being a person. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. This is normal. You have these phases of you just don't, you're not at the love yourself point. So, and you're judging everything that's outside of you instead of what's going on inside. And the thing is, the more you resolve all these internal things, you don't have that angst anymore. It literally dissolves. And that's the part that you don't hear enough people talking about. In our society, if you show rage, you're scoffed at and you're judged. And people don't know how to resolve that. You see all these shootings and these people. I make a little noise here taking this thing in. You see all these people expressing themselves in negative ways. And if you don't understand that that's coming from a past, and that, maybe somebody around them could just say, hey, why don't you figure out where this is coming from and release it and let it go, and you'll be a much happier person. And let me tell you something, millions of people have already done this. This is not new. Letting go is a human condition. And the more you let go and the clearer you get, the better you feel. And that's a fact. That's not an opinion. So, if anything comes up for you today, whatever day you happen to see this video, and you get triggered by something, take a moment, breathe, and just realize, oh, I think I need to clear something from my past. And commit to that for yourself and for your own well-being. And you should feel a lot better, because it's an internal shift that happens. And when it happens, you can't help but to feel it. It's definitely real. It's not an opinion. It's real. So let's get on and have a real life and try to make things a little bit better today, wherever you are in the world. And I will do the same. There's much more to come on The Medium by Design.